Hi, I'm Chris Colvin. I'm the founder of In the House, and we're a community for general counsel and other in-house lawyers. And our work is to empower in-house counsel and their legal departments to succeed and to better serve the companies where they work. Um, Today, we're here for House Calls, which is our series of short videos with innovators in the legal profession. Today, I'm delighted to be meeting with Dan Ruderman. Dan is the Director of Strategic Alliances for LexisNexis Legal. And Dan has spent a significant portion of his career helping to bring more metrics and measurable success to legal departments. So Dan, first of all, thank you for appearing on House Calls today.
Well, thank you for having me, Chris. It's always a pleasure to speak with you and to your audience. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. Let's start by looking back on your own professional career and just sharing what have you learned about the needs of in-house lawyers and other high-achieving professionals in the work that you've done.
Oh, that's a great question. So I've been working in this area for 22 years, but before that I was in high tech, and I sold advanced visualization and graphics systems to architects and engineers. And I was basically taking people who were used to drafting on drafting tables and introducing them to computers in a completely different way to do it. And it was not an easy transition for people to do. Then I moved into the legal technology space, and they were, let's just say that they were not the most readily embracing of technology. But I noticed very quickly that there was a difference between law firms and law departments. Law firms measured billable hour, very important to them. Some of them in the firm measured realization rates, and then they divided their profits at the end of the year and started the new year fresh. That was the things that they cared about. Most of the people that moved from there in-house were very pleased to not have to care about any of those things anymore. And as a result, they tended to just drop metrics entirely and treat themselves as a special group that nobody else in the company could understand, and they didn't have to measure their performance, and they kind of liked it that way. So I noticed that very quickly when I made this transition.
Interesting. So let's move to the current environment. We're here in May of 2020. It's obviously a very challenging time for in-house lawyers, as for everyone. But how do you think, from your own perspective, how do you think we're doing as a profession, as in-house lawyers, and what advice do you have just to help make it through this current environment?
Thank you, Chris. That's another great question. It is a challenging time because most law firms were not equipped to work from home, but most corporations have somebody working from home, so they had a big IT force that could help the department migrate to home-based work. So the departments were a little bit better prepared for it, but their partners, the law firms, weren't as prepared. But the technology is there. It's there for both sides to do it. And my recommendation in this time is to use technology that's available. There's obviously great enterprise legal management systems out there. And the value of the systems is it should make people's work easier to do. It should make it easier for their managers to track what's being done, right? And it should make it easier for the managers and their executives to report up the chain on what's being done and how it contributes to the overall business. And so my recommendation in these times is use that technology, take advantage of this pause, as it were, and
Right.
use the technology to help people get their jobs done, measure what's being done, and report on that stuff. And I think that's going to help us all emerge from this in a better place.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And since you mentioned emerging in a better place, perhaps we should close by just asking you to share what advice do you have going forward in terms of emerging strong from the current environment and ensuring that the legal department is successful and is doing a great and efficient job for the companies that we serve?
Well, that's also a good question. So I think here's the good news. The law department is staffed with lawyers. Lawyers are bright people. They're great people to work with. They're good conversationalists. They have strategic minds, and it's a chance to use them and to be leaders. The downside of being in a corporation was you could be seen as the department of obstacle production in the past or just a cost center. But now you have a chance to really demonstrate leadership and value. And some of the ways you can do it is through partnering activities. You could reach out to the business leaders and say, is there any way that our department can help you better? You can reach out to your finance department and say, is there any way I can help you better? And you can reach out to your law firms and say, is there any way I can help you better? And some specific ways that they can do that, Chris, is finance typically doesn't love the law department because they don't pay their bills in a timely fashion and they never know when they're going to spend their money. The smart ones know that they'll spend an awful lot of it in December, but they always want to know how much. And so you can go to your finance department, your CFO. There's a chance at the board level to have this conversation, or the leadership level, and say, how can I help you more? Did you know that we are 20% of the outside spend, of vendor spend? If I could pay the law firms quickly by using other people's money, get a rebate from it, and extend our terms and improve liquidity, would that help? You can go to HR and say, I know the company has a diversity initiative. We spend $30 million with outside counsel. Would you like me to report to you on how much of that is minority and women in business owned to contribute to the company's goals? So there's really dozens of ways. There's just a few that right out of the gate will position a general counsel a little bit differently as a leader. And I think times like this call for leaders.
Right. I love that advice. It's excellent. I think all crises test existing leaders and new leaders emerge also. So it's a wonderful time of opportunity for the in-house community to step up and be counted. So I really value that advice. So thank you, Dan Ruderman, the Director of Strategic Alliances for LexisNexis Legal. Thank you, Dan, for taking time today to appear on House Calls.
Yeah, my pleasure, Chris. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.